Good morning to everyone. It's Thursday, so this is the Faith Filter. I'm Joel Fieri. We're going to talk today and hit on a few subjects: State of the Union, which of course everybody's talking about, the Epstein files, which everyone's still talking about. It's amazing. And I'm going to do a little Robert Duvall tribute here, a little foreshadowing. Okay. I'm dressing down a little bit today. Normally I wouldn't come on without at least a collar. Okay. But I'm going a little cash today just to, if those of you that know Lonesome Dove probably know where I'm going with this. Good morning, AC. How are you? Good to see you. Lucas, good. AC beat you this morning, Lucas. All right. I'm going to start with State of the Union, and I'm going to, there's a lot to say. Michael and Ben and I tomorrow we'll probably are going to dive in a little deeper on the State of the Union. This being the Faith Filter, what I wanted to do was focus on what I thought was the key moment as far as us as Christians, as far as the Christian worldview, how to filter this through that Christian worldview. And this is... I'll just go ahead and play it, and it'll pretty much speak for itself. So get it going here.
And here is one more opportunity to show common sense in government. In the gallery tonight are Sage Blair and her mother, Michelle. In 2021, Sage was 14 when school officials in Virginia sought to socially transition her to a new gender, treating her as a boy and hiding it from her parents. Hard to believe, isn't it? Before long, a confused Sage ran away from home after she was found in a horrific situation in Maryland. A left-wing judge refused to return Sage to her parents because they did not immediately state that their daughter was their son. Sage was thrown into an all-boys state home and suffered terribly for a long time. But today, all of that is behind them because Sage is a proud and wonderful young woman with a full ride scholarship to Liberty University. Sage and Michelle, please stand up. And thank you for your great bravery. And who can believe that we're even speaking about things like this? 15 years ago, if somebody was up here and said that, they'd say, what's wrong with him? But now we have to say it because it's going on all over numerous states without even telling the parents. But surely we can all agree no state can be allowed to rip children from their parents' arms and transition them to a new gender against the parents' will. Who would believe that we're even talking about this? We must ban it, and we must ban it immediately. Look, nobody stands up. These people are crazy. I'm telling you, they're crazy. Amazing. Boy, oh boy. We're lucky we have a country. With people like this, Democrats are destroying our country, but we've stopped it just in the nick of time, didn't we?
Sorry, my mic is muted. I got a little cold today, and the Dayquil hasn't quite kicked in yet. So, as you can tell, I'm a little throaty here. That to me I wanted to just focus on that today, because that's, for the most part, the rest of the State of the Union was political matters. And Trump is the best at doing exactly what he did there, of highlighting through what he acknowledges, through what he says, and he goes ahead and he does it. He does what politicians never do. He provided clarity between two different political sides, and he forced the Democratic side to make a choice. Are they going to stand for this young woman? Are they going to agree that children should not be ripped from their parents' arms against their will and taken to another state? It doesn't even matter if they're taken to another state. Just the fact that they're ripped from their parents' arms is outrageous. And forcibly transitioned in their gender, which basically means mutilated, and then force the parents before they give it back to acknowledge that it's not their daughter, it's their son. It's this kind of bizarro world we're in. And no other Republican president would do what he's doing, would highlight this as an issue that is fundamental to our society. The sovereignty parents have over their children is basic. The family is the basic unit of society, and the definition of a family is parents and children, and the children being the responsibility and extension of their parents in that family. The parents have ultimate authority over their children's lives. The state has no business interfering unless it's some, over the top case, right? But we live in this bizarre world, like Trump said 15 years ago. Who would have believed that we're even talking about this? Let alone for the history of the country. The founding fathers would be absolutely spinning in their graves if they knew this was going on, if they knew government was involved in this kind of thing. So this is what Trump does. He highlights this, but no other Republican president would do that, because for some reason we have this political idea that we can't highlight these fundamental differences between parties, between worldviews, between philosophies, between political realities. It's like, no, we can't deal in reality. So, and obviously this is the one point I wanted to point out, because this is the one that hits the filter hardest, that hits the Christian filter, the Christian Judeo-Christian worldview filter the hardest. Most of the rest of what he said could be, oh, that's politics, whatever it is, the Medal of Honor people, or even, the other one I guess would be Charlie Kirk's widow, but and possibly the young Ukrainian woman that was stabbed on the train, her mother standing there, and the Democrats refusing to stand and to honor this mother and this widow whose daughter and husband were violently murdered. It just, that I could put that through the faith filter too. But this is, to me, where we cross the line. Typically Christians don't like to get involved in politics. I go to a church that doesn't overtly get involved in politics. I used to go to a church that said they didn't get involved in politics, but they got very much involved in politics from the left-wing side, and they constantly overlooked things like this, obvious things like this, that need to be stated. And the difference is clear. One of our political parties does not believe in the family unit of a mother and a father brought together under God in unity, who came together and procreated and had children, who are gifted by God with children. And it's their responsibility to train up these children in the fear and admonition of the Lord. It is their responsibility. And these children were made male and female. Male and female, God created them. This goes to Genesis. This goes straight to the front of the book. The very idea of who we are as human beings, created in the image of God, Male and female, he created them. Okay. Now, God manifests himself as a male in the masculine sense. That's how the Bible instructs us to think of God as a loving father. Okay. He is Lord, but God is not male or female. He is both. And human beings are the manifestation of God's nature, male and female. Okay. That's basic. If you don't believe that, you don't really believe in Christianity. Okay. You don't have that Judeo-Christian worldview. And it doesn't get any more basic than that. And yet one of our political parties refuses to acknowledge that and will not acknowledge and support the idea that a child must not, I don't know, should not, must not be taken against his parents' will, his or her parents' will, and without their knowledge, let alone their will, their knowledge, to be taken to another state and have transition surgery done to them or transition medication, the beginning of mutilating their bodies to try and change their gender, their sex, and then they won't give the child back to the parents unless the parents acknowledge, no, that's not my daughter, that's my son. And like Trump said, if you said this, like I said, 15 years ago, people think you're crazy. If you said it 100 years ago, they would probably take you outside and hang you. I don't know, but this is where politics and Christianity cross. And this is where, if you are on the side, if you're on the Democratic side, you have to somehow in your brain reconcile this. And if you can't do it, then you need to change. You need to change, because they have made it clear what their stance is. They sat there and because they may agree with him, some of those people, but they can't stand up, because if they stand up, they're acknowledging, first of all, that Trump is right, and their base will not allow that. And second of all, they'll acknowledge that what they've supported, what they've let happen to their party is wrong, and they can't acknowledge that because their party is so beholden to this radical, anti-Christian, anti-American, whatever. So everything else you can say, oh, when there's a shade of this, a shade of that, I'll give you that. But this one, you just can't. There's no way. It's there for everyone to see. It was there for everyone to see before. But this is what Trump does. He keeps reminding us, hey, these people are crazy. These people believe that it's okay to take a child against their parents' will without their knowledge and mutilate them. That's okay. That's what we support. We think that's cool because we're beholden to a bunch of people that really want to do that. So that's my take on that part of the State of the Union. Like I said, we'll be talking about it more in depth tomorrow with Michael and Ben, but I just wanted to get that out there. And kind of dovetailing with that is I'm going to talk a little bit about Jeffrey Epstein and the Epstein files that came out. And I wanted to share an image here. And for those of you like me who've been concerned about these Epstein's things and have been really frustrated, since Trump came into office with what's been going on, and it's seemingly nothing's happened. It's really, really frustrating to see that this obviously is something that was going on at the highest levels of government. These young women, young girls, were being molested by people in power who got away with it, by this scumbag of a human being and his scumbag of a human being girlfriend, right? Doing this with all these rich people. And we've been frustrated that we have seen nothing, no satisfying results. Ladies and gentlemen, I will give you a very satisfying result. There we have it. Okay. The number one guy that it was so obvious was neck deep, and I'll use neck just for taste's sake, in this scandal, in this cesspool, pond scummy endeavor that they had with Jeffrey Epstein. It was what he's now. He's not Prince Andrew anymore. He's Andrew Mountbatten, whatever. Okay. He's been about as humiliated as he can be, and look at him now. Okay. If that just gives you a little bit of satisfaction, okay, this will do with me for now. Okay. Now it's not going to do for long, but this will do for me for now. I believe we talked about that. Ben and I talked about this, and I used the scripture that all things that were hidden will become known. Nothing is hidden that won't someday be known. And for the ex Prince Andrew, I wasn't here last week. It was my birthday, so my wife and I went to Hawaii. My birthday was on the 18th. Andrew's birthday was on the 19th. And I think this happened on his birthday, that a day over. So this was his birthday present, right? And this was my birthday present. Seeing this in the news, this gave me a lot of satisfaction. But that, like I said, that'll only do me for so long. And I know there was let's see if I have it. Let's see if this is it. Yes. Okay. So there's I think from Kentucky, and he I'm going to share a screen. He was standing up in Congress wondering why there haven't been some arrests. And he actually named names. So I'm going to put this up and see if I can play it for a little bit. And Thomas Massey is his name, and he's my hero
from Kentucky, Mr. Massey, for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Congress created the Department of Justice. Congress funds the Department of Justice, and Congress is responsible for the oversight of the Department of Justice. When will we see justice? I'll tell you what I've not seen. I've not seen any arrests from the revelations in the Epstein files, over 3 million documents describing horrible things, describing unspeakable things, so much of it redacted. Over 24 people have resigned, CEOs, members of government worldwide, but I haven't seen any arrests or investigations here in the United States from this Department of Justice. Prince Andrew, Duke of York, who has since been stripped of his royal titles due to his affiliation with Jeffrey Epstein, has been arrested. Peter Mandelson, who previously served as UK's ambassador to the United States, resigned in disgrace from United Kingdom's House of Lords and the Labour Party, and he's been arrested. Former Prime Minister of Norway, Torbjorn Jagland, has been charged. But we don't see any charges, arrests, or investigations in the United States. What do we see? We see our FBI director celebrating in the locker room at the Olympics overseas. It's fine to be proud of this country, but we should be proud of this country because we have a system of justice that works. And yet we do not. Who are the men that should be investigated? I'll name them right here. Leon Black. You don't even have to see past the redactions to see that this man needs to be investigated. Jess Staley, accused of terrible things. It's right there in the files. Why is he not being investigated? And Leslie Wexner. Why did the FBI list him as a co-conspirator in their own documents in a child sex trafficking case, and then tell him, according to him, that they had no questions for him? Why is that? Well, the Epstein Files Transparency Act requires the DOJ and the FBI to disclose to us their internal memos and emails about how they made those decisions, whether to prosecute or not prosecute. Yet they have not delivered those memos.
Okay. That gives you a little bit. And like I said, seeing Prince Andrew in the back is great. What's going on here? Okay, if there's enough to arrest the member of a royal family, what's going on here? Okay. There's enough evidence here. Our Department of Justice is every bit as good as the United Kingdom. Or was it Sweden? And yet no arrests. So yeah, that image will do for a while, but it's not going to do much more. Okay. Lucas, their sins will find them out. And no one has been arrested, but there's been a couple in the UK, including Andrew. Yeah. And yeah, he's right. Yeah, he's bumming the high from the State of the Union, but again, everything else is secondary if we don't protect our children. And so I'm going to share this one obvious scripture with you. And again, you can go back again to the idea of the family and how precious children are. But we have Matthew 18. Okay. And I'll go ahead here and add it to the stage and see if we can't put the obvious spin on this. So in Matthew 18, verse 2, Jesus said, he called the little child to him and placed the child among them. And he said, truly I tell you, unless you change and become like little children, you will never enter the kingdom of heaven. Therefore, whoever takes a lowly position of his child is greatest in the kingdom of heaven. And whoever welcomes one such child in my name welcomes me. But if anyone causes one of these little ones who believe in me to stumble, it would be better for them to have a large millstone hung around their neck and be drowned in the depths of the sea. Okay. Makes it pretty clear, doesn't it? So that's all I'll say on that. Yeah, great. Seeing Prince Andrew in the back of the car is great, and that those other people, okay, justice is being done in this matter somewhere. What's going to happen here? Let's go. Okay, it's time. We've waited long enough. So, and one last thing. Robert Duvall died this week, and 95 years old, a good long life. Not really sure about his status before the Lord. It's not my place to say. I think he was heavily involved in Christian Science movement, which would be unfortunate if that was the case. But everybody is, paying tribute to him and talking about his great roles. And no doubt, mostly they focus on, let's see. Where am I here? Here I am. Mostly they're focusing on The Godfather. Fair enough. And hold on here. Let me get this right, and then I'll share it with you and get back to my train of thought here. And so that's all set up to go. And I'm going to highlight, as you see, I'll take that off for a second. I've got this Lonesome Dove shirt. And there are very few things that I really get into. I'm not a fanboy of much of anyone or anything, but the one thing that I am, what I say, over the top passionate about is the story of Lonesome Dove. I've read the book 6 or 7 times, I would guess. I've seen the mini series that came out in the late 80s about that many times. And the single to me, I'm going to play media critic now. In my estimation, the greatest acting performance of the greatest character written, the best of all time, is Robert Duvall's portrayal of Augustus McCrae in Lonesome Dove. Robert Duvall would agree with me. He always said by far this was his favorite role. He called Lonesome Dove his Hamlet. Okay, he said, I was involved in the two great sagas of the 20th century, The Godfather and Lonesome Dove. And he equated that. I would put Lonesome Dove even above The Godfather. Certainly his performance. He was good in The Godfather. I'll give him that. But everyone was good in The Godfather. In Lonesome Dove, everyone was good in Lonesome Dove, but Robert Duvall took it to a level I have never seen in acting. The writers took it to a level I have never seen in writing. And storytelling. Larry McMurtry, who wrote the book, took it. If you haven't read the book, it's the best book you'll ever read. If you haven't seen the miniseries, it's the best thing you'll ever see. So, and I just wanted to play here my favorite, not necessarily my favorite scene, but it's my favorite line in the whole miniseries, and it sums up the character of Gus McCrae. And this is it. He's talking to Woodrow Call, who's his partner. If you don't know the story of Lonesome Dove, they are involved in there are a couple of old Texas Rangers who are cattle ranchers in this little nothing town called Lonesome Dove in Texas. Call is a very serious leader and workaholic. Gus is a enjoyer of life. He's a liver of life. He's a passionate man. He's a fun-loving man. He's a lazy man, but yet he's not necessarily by any means an incompetent man, right? But the two is the best acting pair you'll ever see. It's the best interaction and dialogue between two characters you'll ever see. And this to me epitomizes who Gus was and how Robert Duvall played this character.
How many head do you think we starting out with?
All about 2,600 cattle and 2 pigs.
That's a dang stupid thing to do, bringing that old sign along. You'll have us at laughing stock of this whole country with that we don't rent pigs part.
Well, we don't rent pigs. And I figure it's better to say it right up front, because a man that does like to rent pigs he's hard to stop.
And if that ain't bad enough, you got all them Greek words on there too.
I told you, Woodrow, a long time ago, it ain't Greek, it's Latin.
Well, what does it say in Latin?
Well, it's a motto. It just says itself. Yovarum feet, Yovarum double feet, whatever.
You don't have no idea what it says. You found that in some old book or something. For all you know, it invites people to rob us.
Well, first man comes along that can read Latin is welcome to rob as far as I'm concerned. I'd like the chance to shoot at an educated man once in my life.
Okay.
Your business is brimming
right.
with potential,
So-
and U.S. Bank can help harness.
We'll take that off, and I hope that's not still playing. But anyways, thanks for indulging me, guys. This is, a man who wants to rent pigs is difficult to stop, and that's what the whole miniseries is. That little dialogue right there. That's what it's all basically about, along with fantastic scenes of action and landscapes, and it's just a magnificent saga story of these two Texas Rangers who decide to take their cattle from Texas to Montana, and all the things that happen in that. And like I said, the two characters are fantastic, and Robert Duvall gives the best performance I've ever seen. Okay, for me to play critic, the best tribute I can give to Robert Duvall as an actor is to show his portrayal of Gus McCrae. And I think he would agree. As a matter of fact, I know he would agree because he said that several times. So like I said, that is a good chance for me to share my passion with you, because like I said, I don't typically do this kind of thing. And when Tommy Lee Jones dies, I will go into this little saying right here. I hate rude behavior in a man, and I won't tolerate it. And if those of you who know Lonesome Dove know that scene very well. So that's it. Thanks for, like I said, indulging that from me. I'll be on, like I said, with Ben and Michael tomorrow, and we will talk more about the State of the Union, do a deep dive into it. So thanks for listening, guys, and we'll see you.